Hello all, let's start the part 2 of video of section 8.1, 8.2 and 8.3. In this section I will cover the graph of y equal a cosine x. Correct? Few important notes here that I want to put for you. First, period. Period for sine and cosine for a standard graph is 2 pi. Correct? Then we will talk about domain. After we graph, we will see what's our domain. What is our range? Correct? X-intercepts, which is important for us. We should know what's our x-intercepts. If our function is odd or even. And after that, after all these explanation, I'll do one simple example for y equal a cosine x. Then I may cover also the graph of a transformation. Correct? Let's start with the graph of y equal a cosine x, standard graph. I will draw x and y axis here for you. This is your x, this is your y. The period for the cosine is 2 pi. I'll mark here 2, 3, 4. Actually, I will erase this one. The period for the cosine is 2 pi, correct? If it's 2 pi, you divide 2 pi by 2, it gives you the center, which is pi. And if you divide pi by 2, it gives you pi over 2, which is the first quarter. And if you add these two, pi over 2 and pi, it gives you 3 pi over 2, which is your third quarter. Correct? Now, few things. If you see the unit circle, here you have technology. The cosine of 0 is 1, correct? If I mark here 1. Cosine of pi over 2 is 0. Cosine of pi is negative 1. Correct? Cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. And cosine of pi is 1. Just look at your unit circle. Correct? Connect these points. Of course, this side continues, and if you come this side, even if I show here for you negative pi over 2, this side, the graph comes this way and goes down, correct? But I just draw one cycle. The graph of cosine is periodic. It repeats in every 2 pi, correct? Now, let's answer these questions. First, domain. Negative infinity to infinity. You can see it in the graph. Range, again, from negative 1 to 1. X-intercepts, where the cosine becomes 0. At pi over 2. Correct? Comma 0. And 3 pi over 2. Comma 0. If this function is odd or even, you see your graph is symmetric about y-axis. It means your f of negative x equals f of x. It means the graph of cosine is even. Correct? A very important note, like sine. Cosine crosses, because it's a standard, I told you pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2, but in general, when your period is changing, cosine crosses x axis at quarters in every quarter, correct? And peaks at end plus center. You can see it in the graph. It peaks at the center and at the ends. You can see it in your graph. This is one end, which is 0. 2 pi is another end. You see your graph peaks at the center and end. The sign was different. The sign was, the zeros were at the end and center. Here for cosine, the graph peaks at the end and center. This is what is important about cosine, correct? All cosine functions, you can graph it like this. It's really easy. Just focus on these key points, correct? Your key points are actually the ends here, correct? Your key points, if I may make a note, but remember, it's just for a standard, right? I'll put some numbers here. It doesn't mean it's always these numbers. It's changing. Key points are at the end, correct? It means at 0, correct? Center, which is pi, and end, which is 2 pi. At 0, you have 1. At pi, you have -1. And at 2 pi, you have, again, 1. These are your key points. But remember, when we change the period a little bit, these points are changing. It's not difficult. I'll show you in a quick example, correct? Let's talk about transformation. And we will do a lot of examples here. It means we will graph now y equal a sine bx plus d, or y equal a cosine bx plus d. D is your vertical shift. Of course, if it's positive, you shift up. If it's negative, you shift down. B is changing your period. The coefficient of x, always changing your period. Now, step number 1. Please follow these steps when you do transformation. Step number 1. Finding the period. Period for sine of cosine, the formula is P equal 2 pi over B. Whatever B is, it gives you the period. And please, this formula is for sine, cosine, secant, and cosecant. It's 2 pi. For tangent, it's changing to pi, correct? Do not use this for tangent, because the period for tangent, the actual period is pi, not 2 pi. We will cover when we graph tangent. For example, let me show you how to find the period. For example, you have y equal cosine of 4x. Your period will be 2 pi over b, which is 4, which gives you pi over 2. That will be your period, correct? And step number 2, always vertical shift. Do your vertical shift. Which is your D. Step number 3, mark x intercepts. And step number 4, multiply key points by A. Now, it gives you the new key points, right? Now I'll do few examples here, and I should only do vertical shift and period. Soon in next video, I'll show you the horizontal shift, or we call it in trigonometry phase shift, correct? Let's do now few examples. Example number 1. Graph y equal, let's put a number also here, 2 sine of 4x plus 1. Step number 1, I'll find my period, which my formula I memorized it, 2 pi over b, which means 2 pi over 4, which gives me pi over 2. Stop here and try to graph it. Find the period. Always you need 4 points. Mark 4 points. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here your period is pi over 2. You have to find the rest of the numbers. I told you the method. First divide pi over 2 by 2. Every time that you divide a fraction by a number, you actually multiply it with the reciprocal of that number. In an easy language, I want to find the center. I will instead of dividing pi over 2 by 2, I will multiply it by 1/2, which is the same, right? Pi over 2 times 1/2 gives me pi over 4, which is my center. Now, find the first quarter, divide pi over 4 by 1/2, or multiply it by 1/2, by 2 or multiply it by 1/2, which gives you pi over 8. Correct? How to find the third quarter? I told you are adding always these two numbers. Pi over 8 plus pi over 4. You need a common denominator, times 2 times 2. It gives you 3 pi over 8. Here you have 3 pi over 8. You found all the points. You found your period. Now it's time to do the vertical shift. Your d is positive 1. Step number 2. D is 1. Positive 1. It means you shift up 1 unit. If I mark here as a 1 unit, correct? I will draw this line. Some professors, they don't do it, but I draw it for better graphing, and actually this is your new axis. To do not be confused, I recommend you to move all these points. Here, pi over 8 to this line. Here, pi over 4. Here, 3 pi over 8, because this is my new x-axis, correct? And here, pi over 2. Erase the old ones to do not get confused. Your new x-axis is actually there. Technology, when you touch a little bit, everything will go away. This is y, and this is your new axis, x-axis. This is the old one. Now, step number 3 was mark your x-intercepts. You are dealing with sine, correct? The zeros of the sine was at the end, here, and here, and also center. Remember from previous lecture? Step number 4, multiply your key points. The key points for sine is 0. The key points for sine are quarters, correct? The key points for sine is pi over 8, comma 1, and 3 pi over 8 comma negative 1. Remember, the key points for sine was pi over 2 comma 1 and 3 pi over 2 comma negative 1, but because here I have a different period, I put my quarters. Now, how to find the new Q points? Pi over 8, if you remember, multiply your output with your amplitude, which your amplitude is 2, correct? Multiply this only with your output, that gives you the new key point. 1 times 2 gives you 2, and here 3 pi over 8 comma negative 1 times 2 gives you negative 2. Find these points, please. Because this is your new x-axis, mark here 1 unit, 2 unit, correct? 1 unit, 2 unit. Actually, negative 1 becomes the 2 unit, right? Because it's 0. Mark these points. Pi over 8 and 2. Pi over 8 and 2. 3 pi over 8 and negative 2. 3 pi over 8 and negative 2. 3 pi over 8 and negative 1, negative 2. Correct? Now, easily you can graph. That will be the graph of y equal 2 sine 4x plus 1. We do the same way for cosine, correct? You can graph cosine also like this. It's not difficult. Just find the period, follow this 4-step, do your vertical shift, find the x-intercepts. If it's sine, the x-intercepts for the sine is at the end, center, and if it's cosine, the x-intercept is at quarters. Key points for the sine is at the quarters. Key points for the cosine is at the ends. Then connect those points. It's easily you can graph. Correct? I will show one example of cosine also for you. I don't want to see that you're only one example. I will do one more. Y equals, let's say, negative 2 cosine of, let's put a strange argument here, 3x. Let's do a vertical shift also. This time minus me. Minus 2. My first step is finding period, which is P. P equals 2 pi over B. It means 2 pi over 3. Correct? Now I will graph. To do not erase, what is your vertical shift? Your vertical shift is negative 2. If I mark here negative 1 and mark here negative 2, let's first draw our vertical shift, because I love to find the period on my vertical shift to do not erase, right? Same thing. I don't want to work twice. Okay, what is my period? 2 pi over 3. You need 4 points, correct? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is your period, 2 pi over 3. You need to find the other points, correct? 2 pi over 3 divided by 2 or times 1/2 gives you 2 pi over 6, correct? And you can cancel out. It means the center will be pi over 3. Pi over 3 times 1/2 gives you pi over 6, which is your first quarter. And if you add these two, pi over 6 plus pi over 3, You need to multiply here by 2 to get the common denominator. It gives you 3 pi over 6, which gives you pi over 2. You see, this calculation is really important. It's really easy. When you find a center, divide by 2 or multiply by 1/2. Then when you find your center, multiply your center by 1/2. It gives you the first quarter. When you find the first quarter, add your first quarter with your center. It gives you the third quarter. Correct? We did a step number 2 also, which was vertical shift. And step number 3, I'll mark the x-intercepts, right? Your step number 3 is x-intercepts. Okay, I'm dealing with cosine, correct? This is your new x, this is your old x, and this is y. Cosine has zeros at quarters, correct? It means at pi over 6 and next quarter pi over 2. Step number 4, key points. Key points for cosine is at the ends, correct? Which is 0, comma 1, the original one, and end, which is 2 pi over 3 and negative 1. And also your center, which is pi over 3, comma, this is positive 1, this is negative 1. But you need to now find the new key points, correct? You multiply your output with amplitude. It means 0, comma, what is my amplitude? What is A? Negative 2. Negative 2 times 1 gives you negative 2. Here, 2 pi over 3, comma, positive 1 times negative 2 gives you negative 2. At 2 pi over, I did a mistake, at pi over 2 comes here. Why I have 2 pi over 3? That's the end. Okay, here. Pi over 3 comma 1 gives you, comma negative 1 gives you pi over 3 and 2. Correct? I put the sign wrong. At pi over 3, it's negative 1. Mark your new points, but focus on your new x-axis. When x is 0, y is negative 2. 0 and negative 2. 1, 2. Here. 2 pi over 3 and negative 2. 2 pi over 3 and negative 2, which is here. Pi over 3 and negative 1. Pi over 3 and negative 1. That's the graph of cosine. I'll stop the lecture here. And next lecture, I'll do the phase shift for you. Then we will be done with the graph of sine and cosine. And we will start talking about tangent and cotangent. See you all in part 3 of this lecture.